Attack on Titan transcends the boundaries of action horror anime to become something far more substantial, a brilliant, brutal interrogation of war, history, and the complexities of human nature, meticulously structured around a series of world-shattering revelations. It's also my favorite anime of all time, and in this video, I want to explore exactly why this series resonates so deeply with me and countless others. What begins as a seemingly straightforward narrative, humanity's desperate struggle against monstrous giants, consistently expands its scope in ways that feel both surprising and inevitable. The show masterfully transforms from a medieval fantasy setting into a profound commentary on global politics, genocide, and the cynical nature of hatred that has plagued human civilization throughout history. The core genius of Attack on Titan lies in its remarkable ability to completely redefine its own premise multiple times throughout its run. The series begins as a mystery and survival horror. Why are the Titans attacking? How can humanity possibly survive? Then it morphs into a political thriller centered on internal conspiracy and corruption. We discover that the threat isn't just outside the walls, it's within them, and our own government has been deceiving us from the beginning. The most profound shift occurs with the legendary basement reveal. After Eren and the Survey Corps finally reach the Jaeger family basement, a destination teased and anticipated for seasons, they uncover a truth that fundamentally changes everything we thought we knew. The Titans are not some natural phenomenon or divine punishment, but rather weaponized forms of a cursed people called the Eldians. Even more shocking, their home of Parody Island is not the last bastion of humanity, but rather a secluded colony, disparagingly called the Island Devils, existing within a much larger, technically advanced world. At this pivotal moment, the show undergoes a complete transformation into a war drama and historical allegory. The enemies are no longer mindless Titans, but the nation of Marley and the world that fears and persecutes Eldians based on their ancestry and the sins of their predecessors. This twist stands as the show's most successful narrative maneuver, fully recontextualizing the entire story we witnessed and raising the stakes from saving a small island to somehow solving an ancient, deeply entrenched global conflict spanning thousands of years. The later twists in the series center heavily on time manipulation and the concept of fixed fate, intricately tied to the unique abilities of both the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan. The initial reveal that the Armored and Colossal Titans are actually Reiner and Berchtold was a shocking emotional betrayal that, in retrospect, made perfect sense given the subtle clues carefully planted throughout the earlier seasons. However, the biggest and most mind-bending twists concern Eren's direct influence on past events. Through the Attack Titan's ability to send memories backwards to its previous inheritors, Eren is revealed to have been manipulating key historical moments all along, creating what's known as a bootstrap paradox, a self-fulfilling loop of causality. Future Eren compels his father, Grisha, to kill the Reese family and steal the Founding Titan, an act that Grisha is initially morally unable to perform. This means Eren essentially forced his own father to carry out the very actions necessary for Eren himself to eventually inherit these powers. The implications are staggering and philosophically disturbing. In the finale, Eren confesses to Armin something even more devastating. He used the powers of the Founder to manipulate past events with surgical precision. He steered Dina Fritz's pure Titan away from Berchtold because Berchtold needed to survive so Armin could later inherit the Colossal Titan, and directed her instead towards his own mother, Carla Jaeger. This twist is absolutely crucial to understanding Eren's character and the show's themes. Eren was the indirect cause of the very traumatic event that birthed his hatred of the Titans and set him on his entire journey towards freedom. The tragedy of his mother's death, the foundational trauma that defined his character, was something he himself orchestrated from the future. If you've made it this far and are enjoying what you've seen and heard, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. These time manipulation mechanics, though undeniably complex, work brilliantly on a thematic level. They reveal that Eren's passionate quest for freedom was, paradoxically, a pre-written script he was forced to follow. He was not the savior he believed himself to be, but rather a slave to the future he had glimpsed through his Titan power, acting out a predetermined tragedy to its inevitable and horrifying conclusion. This narrative choice serves to completely destroy the traditional shonen hero archetype that the series initially appeared to follow. It cements Eren's tragic transformation into an anti-villain who commits genocide, the extermination of 80% of humanity, ostensibly for the sake of his friend's eventual freedom and the survival of Paradis Island. It's a descent that feels both shocking and, given the story's construction, tragically inevitable. The series' final resolution centers on two interconnecting elements: Mikasa's choice and the ultimate fate of the Titan power itself. Eren's catastrophic plan necessitates one final crucial act: Mikasa killing him. That wasn't simply a tactical battle maneuver, but rather the emotional key to freeing the original founding Titan, Ymir Fritz, who had been spiritually enslaved for 2,000 years. Ymir's bondage was not maintained by an external vow or curse, but by something far more insidious and human: the slave-like devotion she maintained towards her abuser, King Fritz. She could not escape this psychological bond even in death. For 2 millennia, she had been observing the subjects of Ymir through history, searching for someone who could break free of a similar emotional chain. She found her answer in Mikasa, who was similarly devoted to a man, Eren, despite the horrific path he had chosen. When Mikasa finally chose to kill Eren out of love, prioritizing the greater good and her friend's futures over her personal devotion, Ymir witnessed the breaking of that chain. This single act of choosing duty and morality over blind devotion dissolved the mysterious source of all Titan power and erased Titans from the world, finally freeing all Eldians from their ancient curse. The immediate consequences of Eren's rumbling, his act of exterminating 80% of the world's population, were exactly as he planned. Paradis was temporarily saved, and his surviving friends, the Alliance who stopped him, were elevated to the status of world heroes. For a time, genuine peace was achieved, and it seemed his horrific sacrifice might have accomplished something lasting. However, a poignant epilogue showing the passage of decades and then centuries provides the ultimate, devastating thematic conclusion. We witness Paradis Island, now transformed into a thriving modern city called Shiganshina, eventually destroyed by advanced warplanes and carpet bombing. The peace Eren brought through incomprehensible violence was only temporary, a brief respite in an endless cycle. The anime's haunting final image shows a young boy and his dog wandering into the hollow of a giant tree where Eren's head was buried, the same type of tree where Ymir originally discovered the source of Titan power. This strongly suggests that the power may be rediscovered by future generations, implying that the cycle of violence, transformation, and war will inevitably begin again. The ending's meaning is undeniably grim, but it's also profoundly honest about human nature and history. Eren's extreme act of genocide ultimately failed to achieve lasting freedom for anyone. He merely deferred the inevitable conflict and ensured that future generations would continue fighting over different reasons, territories, and ideologies. The series reveals that the true enemy was never the Titans themselves, but rather humanity's inherent capacity for conflict, discrimination, tribalism, and hatred. Even with the Titan power completely removed from the world, humans inevitably found ways to wage war and perpetuate the cycle of violence that had defined their existence. The only true victories were personal and limited in scope. The freedom granted to Eren's closest friends, who were able to live peaceful lives and serve as ambassadors working towards understanding, and the existential liberation given to Ymir, who finally broke her emotional chains after 2,000 years of spiritual bondage. In its final moments, Attack on Titan confirms that all the struggle, All the secrets uncovered and all the sacrifices made ultimately led to one central, uncomfortable truth. The world is inherently cruel, and humanity seems doomed to repeat its own mistakes regardless of how much we suffer or learn. This unflinching examination reveals a narrative masterpiece, a carefully constructed mechanism that had to systematically break both its hero and its world to deliver its profound and cynical message about the human condition. The series doesn't offer easy answers or comforting resolutions. Instead, it presents a mirror to our own history and asks us to confront uncomfortable truths about cycles of violence, the limitations of even the most extreme actions, and the tragic nature of existence itself. And this unflinching honesty, this willingness to follow its themes to their logical and devastating conclusions, combined with exceptional storytelling, complex character development, and masterful plot construction, is precisely why Attack on Titan stands as my favorite anime of all time. If you've watched the series, I'd love to hear your thoughts on its ending and the themes in the comments below. This has been 3PC, Past Present Pop Culture. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.